that process, the reforms on education? Did we get anything?
We got a bit of headway on maybe university funding.
Did we?
Did.
I think that's the biggest problem that we have right now.
You know, the way it was before, I think some of the costing came down because the cost then was very high. And the question we should be asking ourselves, even what came down, is it affordable? That's another question. On the issues about the different categories on how the university student benefit from the help, and depending on the amount of money you are given and the justification, that's another still process that needs also for the students also to be trained and to be explained on how they are supposed to apply for that. I went through university and was paid for by help. The question is, why fix what was working? Because initially, the process was very simple. You could have just applied and you could have gotten support from the government. Why make it very complicated? That's another question. The task force may have come up with a few recommendations. Were they taken up? So as we complain, and I keep on saying this, we may complain as Kenyans on what is happening around, but we ask ourselves again, what kind of leaders do we elect? And I want to ask this morning, do you look for leaders who can dramatize a lot? The ones who can make a lot of noise? The one who can say 1 term or 2 term or must go or must stay? Or do you look at the quality of a leader that you elect to represent you in National Assembly or in the Senate or as an MCA or as a governor? That is a big question we need to ask ourselves now. Kenyans are very emotional. We either follow political parties. In our region, we follow waves. It is this wave we follow. It is this wave you follow. So you don't even look at the persona, the person who you are putting in office. Just because either you want to impress or you love the person at the top. So any other person who is following that person, that is the person you're going to elect, and that is the person you want to become your representative. But then, did you look at the capacity of the person? If they come and then they don't perform, that is why you see elections happening in Kenya. And immediately after, it's like we start campaigns again. 1 year is down the line, we are again saying we are talking about 2027. We are not even asking our leaders accountability. I elected you as my MCA. This was your promise. Not what about the other person have done. What have you done for me for 1 year? What is your plan for the next 2 years? What is your plan? But you have elected members who are already talking about 2027 and who are going to vote, we are going to vote out. But that elected member cannot account. A person is a senator, cannot account for the failure of the governor, the amount of money that have gone to their county, what that money has done or not done. They are not concerned. Their concern is 2027. And that is the biggest failure we have done ourselves as the members of parliament, as the senators, as elected leaders. But most importantly, I think this should be a lesson to the voters. The voters. And I plead, let us not become very emotional when we are voting for these people. It doesn't matter. Now we even have people who come in as independent. We have many political parties. Let us not follow a political party or because the person is following so and so, that is the person we are going to vote for. Let us look at individual. Let us vet the people we are going to vote as our representative. And I think we are going to have a solution on these matters.
As you give your final words, the issue now is a budget-making process. The budget itself, the appropriations bill, and then the finance bill. Are you optimistic, given the kind of headlines we've seen on issues like capitation and all these things? I know probably the discussions in as far as Kenyans are concerned is a bit subdued because of what the security agencies are doing. Are you optimistic that this time around, probably after this budget-making process, will be in a better place? As you make your final word.
How can we be in a better place when the person who is spoiling it all is still seated there? When the person who is controlling all this mess is seated up there? How do we expect this budget to be done in a proper manner when the interest, the person who has higher interest for this budget is the one who is messing the country, the one who is just looking at police killing Kenyans, and he's saying nothing. And he will just sit down and one day he will come and say, kama nilikosea mnisame. How do we get it better? How will we be better when we have such a leader? The issue here in our country is not Kenyans, let me tell you. And the Kenyans, they have had an opportunity to elect those who present themselves, all right? If somebody is good and he has not represented himself to be elected, Kenyans will not elect. They will elect those, and I want you to look at the park. Sorry to say this, and if I offend anyone, I don't apologize. Look at the park. From the person who is seated, to the person who is supporting him, to the others who want. Tell me where's the angel there? So I think Kenyans, they just choose the Lucifer who will not hit them whole and finish them. Because there is no angel. We all have Lucifers as leaders. No angel. And I want you to tell me, because now we are saying, let us elect the good one. Let me, somebody point and tell me, this is good. From where I see it, I will say Kalonzo is good. And not because he's my tribe. Everybody knows in Kenya, we parted ways with Kalonzo. We differed politically, but he's still my good friend, okay? But politically we differed, but he's still my good friend. Look at that whole thing and tell me, this is now the angel. This is lesser, therefore, it is...
There's no one.
All right? So we'll have to choose from there. Unless Kenyans now change and say, Sasa, this time it is Mutambu, things will be better. Or say Sabina. But if it is the same pack we are seeing, Mheshimiwa will go back to the same route. So my problem is the administration, is the leadership of this country. That's why Kenyans had a better opportunity and we elected Kibaki. Things were better. Did you hear, have you ever heard this kind of noise when Kibaki was the president? How was our economy? How was everything? All the ministers were working. Sabina was there and she will tell you, things were well. There was circulation of money. When this government came, let me tell you, and I said it and I'm going to repeat, killed all the businesses and said the government will do the business. We will now import oil. We will do this G2G. We will do this, we will import cooking oil. The government will import sugar. They will have to select who is bringing sugar. I can tell you, there were so many people who were bringing sugar in this country, but now it has been confined to only selected few, those who tore the line, one line. It is the government which is bringing fuel for all the consumers of this country. There were people who were in the petroleum industry, including me. Our businesses were closed. We are employing more than 100 people. It is no longer there. So when there's no money in circulation, how do you expect things to change?
Okay.
You know, it's very sad when Mheshimiwa says he cannot apologize, and you have heard him many times saying somebody must apologize. You know, you can apologize because you've talked about sugar. I just want to tell you, because I'm in agricultural committee, it's not that...
You already have like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's not that the importers of sugar is a few or a reserve of the few, but we have improved on the sugar sector. We have looked at the farmers. We are doing reforms in the sugar sector. Actually, hopefully, that will not have to import sugar in Kenya. So it's not that the government is trading, but the farmers are being empowered. And I think what this government did, which I will say is a plus,
but
is looking
still importing.
Very little compared to the businessmen.
No, I know the metrics.
Who want.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately, we don't have time for that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Very little compared to the businessmen who are bringing in sugar and who wanted our sugar sector and our sugar industry to fail so that they can continue commercializing and bringing in sugar here. But what the government has done is looking at the production, and the same thing has happened in the maize sector, the fertilizer giving better seeds, so we have more maize coming in, being produced by our farmers.
So
the farmers
importing sugar.
I am not in the business of saying who is importing
That's
sugar.
what I'm telling you. They kill.
I have told.
They're the one doing it.
Look at the.
They're the one doing it.
Look at the metric tons that used to be imported and what is being imported now. So the government is doing well by empowering the farmers and reviving the sugar sector. If that means then people will lose. No, that means that that means that people lose business. That is okay. I'm very optimistic, and I would like to say. What is happening from the time we have John Buddy came into as a CS, being a politician and also understanding that sector. For the first time when I was, last week when I was listening to members of parliament, there was a bit of equalization and distribution of resources across the nation. And I'm optimistic that we can be able to change things. But at the end of the day, I would not say, yes, people selected a Lucifer. I would not want to call names. I have said we have no angel, but Joe, you told us you are one person who was supporting William Samoei Ruto a lot. By the fact that you were not elected, it doesn't mean that you are not the best, or the person who was elected there because you told us last week that you're not elected because you never followed a specific or your kingpin, and that is why your people may not have selected you, even having done a lot for them. That is where my point was.
Okay.
Let us elect our leaders, look at the capacity, look at what they can be able to do for us, and make sure that the people we are electing to come to parliament or whichever level, whether it's a governor, whether it's a senator, there's a lot of resources.
Okay.
Yes, as you say, the buck stops with the president, but people must take responsibility as elected leaders. There is a lot of money going to the counties, but we cannot see that money. So it's not just about the CDF. There is a lot of wastage within this, the money that the government gives out there. So we need to save. We stop wasting the government, the money that is meant to go to the people. Let us reconcile and see where we can be able to prioritize. Let us also see how we can be able to save a lot of money.
Let me
so that many
just have a minute. I know we don't have time.
We don't have
I want
time
to clear one
completely.
thing. I did this. She said that I supported Ruto. It is very true. I just did like God. You know, God, Lucifer was an angel in God's cabinet until he realized he's a bad person. So for me, it doesn't
become bad when you don't get. It doesn't become bad when it's not going your way. It doesn't become bad when the government and when the president empowers the farmer and you're not able to import the sugar. Now you are bitter.
No. I'm not bitter because of sugar.
Thank you so much.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Asante sana. Joe Mutambu.
Because our youth are dying and he's saying nothing.
Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, and Sabina Chege, member of the National Assembly.